Welcome everyone to Career Conversations, a University of Rochester virtual series developed to help you leverage your existing talents, build new skills, keep up with industry trends, pursue new ideas, navigate your personal and professional journey. We invite you to check out our previous presentations in the Career Conversations webinar library. You'll see it in the chat. My name is Michelle Cavalcanti. I work in alumni relations, identifying and creating professional development, programming, and resources for the University of Rochester community. Before I introduce Jonathan, I want to mention that there is closed caption available in the navigation bar. And we're also encouraging you to send questions at any time during the presentation to me, Michelle Cavalcanti, privately in the chat box. You can write, I have a question, or you can write, please ask this question. If you want to ask your own question, I'll just ask you to unmute yourself and ask your question at the end of the presentation. I'm going to now introduce Jonathan, who will be presenting today on identifying career goals and creating a professional development plan. So Jonathan, this is a lot of information I'm going to talk about very quickly so we can get right into it. Jonathan is from the class of 2013. He holds 2 degrees, a master's of social work and a master's of public administration. He recently moved back to Rochester. Yay, we're thrilled he's here. To note, he is one of our amazing alumni career coaches that you can find on our career coaches page. Jonathan has also recently been awarded the Hispanic Executive Next Gen Collective inaugural 30 under 30 Latinx Leaders of 2021. I think he's going to be telling you a little bit about that. You can find Jonathan on the Milliard Collective, our online platform, in a number of groups where he is active. The LGBTQ group, Latinx, the Rochester networks, he's active in all of these groups and more. And he's also one of our mentors in the mentorship program. We're very excited to have him as one of our mentors. So let me just finish by saying he is a queer Latino millennial dedicated to addressing equity issues, building capacity, motivating impact leaders, and getting stuff done. He specializes in job searching, networking, career growth, and navigating workplace issues in the social sector. And he has more than 11 years of experience in career services, including job searching, resume writing, cover letter editing, networking, strategy, professional development, navigating workplace issues, work-life balance. And he is currently working at the Villa of Hope. That is a lot. I'm sorry I said it so fast, Jonathan, but I want to give you all of your time to present on this really important topic and very timely topic since we have launched our spring mentorship program. So I want to say a big welcome to Jonathan. We look forward to hearing your presentation. Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michelle. And thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon. I'm very excited to kind of get chat with you today. So to kick things off while I get my presentation set up, I thought I'd launch a poll. So I'm just going to launch it right now. And I'd love to, answer the few questions like, one, how are you feeling today? Like career conversations and just life in general can be, it's good for us to kind of be rooted in our feelings and kind of building on that. So kind of feeling today, what hat are you wearing? So are you a current student? Are you alum? Are you a mentor? Are you a staff member as well? And then like, why did you register for today's session? So while everyone puts together that poll and kind of thinks about those questions just as you come in, I will get my presentation ready to go. And here we go. Awesome. Here's my title. See that? That's a little bit about me more as well. Michelle kind of covered it too. And you'll get the slides after this, but I wear a lot of hats. I love wearing a lot of hats too. I mostly just say this as well, just to be able to connect with many of you who are either in different types of roles, kind of experiences, but I like to show off kind of the expectations of many hats that I have and just ensure that everyone's aware of that too as well. So, but we'll kind of waiting a little bit we have about 67% of you fill out the poll, so I'll just take a little bit more as well. But I do want to highlight a lot of stuff that Michelle had mentioned just related to U of R. Like, I graduated from undergrad in 2013, but still have been trying to get involved. This will be my 4th time as a mentor And I'm really excited. It's a great opportunity to connect with as well. And if any mentors on the call, this is great stuff to work with your mentees on too as well, just to think about how to support that too as well. And I see most of the folks are coming here as alums, so I'm hoping that this is helpful kind of doing as well. I encourage you to get involved, join the groups, kind of build on networking and build on that. There's a lot of great opportunities to connect and stay connected to. And it's a great way that you can then think about how to incorporate your professional development plan as well. So, I see a few more people coming in. So I just want to make sure everyone has a chance to answer the poll if they'd like to as well, but I'll give them about 15 more seconds in case as well. But yeah, kind of building on it. But I see a lot of alums right here. I see a lot of people exploring your career interests or developing your current career, kind of the main thing as well. And I will end the poll real quick just so everyone can see the results. So a lot of people feeling overwhelmed, like that's the number one. So I'm sorry to hear that. I also have a social work hat, so I'm here to help you navigate that, maybe kind of channel some of that overwhelmness into some action planning as well. Some stuck, but I also see some excited, some determined, building on that too. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for being comfortable with this as well. And again, a lot of alums here and current students, but I see a handful of mentors and staff members too as well. And then, yeah, let's explore your career interests and develop your current career. So, so thanks for sharing this as well. So I'm gonna keep going. So to get things started, this is just what we're gonna talk about today. So we're gonna start off assessing your current situation, where you are right now, how to kind of assess where you're at, then thinking about how to identify what your current strengths and career opportunities are and think about reflecting on what that's like. Then we're going to dive into identifying and setting your career goals and objectives. And then we'll finish up with creating a professional development plan. But that's just the agenda for today as well. So, but next up, first to do that, just to get some networking and kind of engaging as well, I'd love everyone to go in a breakout room. We're going to do this about 4 minutes, but this is just to share who you are and kind of build on that too, because part of your career support and journey is supporting each other. So kind of build on that. So I'm going to put these questions in the chat just so everyone has that as well. But, I'd love, share your 1 sentence elevator speech, try to keep it to 1 sentence, why you joined us today, what do you hope to get out, and what other support you might need too as well. So I think we're going to get started just to kind of get into the breakout rooms for that. But just to get talking, again, part of the career journey is finding support from other people. And we're here to support you, and your U of R support you as well. So we'll kind of get started on that. So I kind of want to just check in to see. Becky, are you ready?
Yep, I'm going to open the rooms now.
Perfect. Thank you, Becky. And
Great.
Awesome. So everyone hop right in the group and we'll see you back in 4 minutes. That's what happens. Welcome back, everyone. I see some smiling faces, so I hope you at least enjoyed that, kind of building on it. So, thanks for, we're just gonna wait for everyone. I see some people still having conversations, so they'll be back with us in 30 seconds. But if you want to share any takeaways or things you want to talk about today, feel free to put it in the chat right now while we wait for things too, of like what were your conversations like, what did you do that? Feel free to add that into the chat. We'd love to hear it, especially about the things like what you're hoping for today as well. So feel free to put it in the chat while we wait for this. And awesome. And I think we have everyone back now, so we'll keep going and keep started. So awesome. Alrighty. So I hope that was helpful. That was kind of just a way to get engaged and again connect with all of you. You all took the time to come here and build on that, and your peer network and other support is a great way to kind of incorporate that as well. So so the first one, we're going to talk about assessing your current situation, because I always think it's good to think about it when you begin with things to how to assess where you're at now, like how to make sure that you're taking consideration of everything going on in your life, both personally and professionally, to how, and you can consider that part of your career planning. So the first one is, the main thing is like evaluating your current job or the job you want. So for some of the current students, thinking about what that dream job would look like when you're finished. And for some of you folks who are working, evaluating your current job right now. So, this could look like a pros and cons list. This could look at reviewing a job description or job descriptions of things that you want, about things that embrace you as well. I also think of like doing a 360 evaluation of all the people you work with, because the people you work with could influence everything as well. And this is the people you could want to work with too as well. So, and it may be harder to kind of imagine things, but it's good to always think about, your boss. How is your boss supportive? Are they a great supervisor? Do they provide support? Do they coach you? What do you kind of hope to have in a dream boss? Your peers. So who are the people who are working with you around at the same level, collaborating on projects? How do they affect your career situation? If you have any direct reports or people just who are giving you information, think about that with those relationships. Leadership, like what does that look like at the agency, and thinking about as well. And then other departments that you have to work on too as well. So think about, evaluating who you are, the people that you're working with, and building on that. And then also identify benefits. And this can be benefits that can related to, just general healthcare benefits, but also like professional development, career goals, supportive benefits. What other aspects does your agency have? Or what are you learning about that you want in an agency? So when you're looking for that new role, you can kind of work on that. So it's a great way to think about where you are right now and what are the current opportunities, kind of thinking about. I'm also a big proponent on self-care. So this is kind of where I think about a self-care assessment. And there's more to self-care than just thinking about taking care of yourself or doing some yoga. And I just tease on that because that's a solution that people have as well. But there's really 4 domains of self-care. So really thinking about, okay, here's my personal self-care. So my physical, mental, social, moral, and spiritual, all these are important self-care. So what am I doing to kind of support that self-care? And what am I ensuring that too, am allowing that in that space in my current job, in my new work? How can I do that as well? Your professional self-care. So how are you growing? Do you need more education? Do you need more credentials? Do you need to be involved with professional associations as well? Think about how you're developing your passions at work. What does the professional self-care situation look like for where you are right now? Organizationally too, like leadership opportunities. Are there more leadership opportunities? Can you grow? Can you join committees? Can you do new assignments? Are you engaging in team building with your team as well? Think about those opportunities as well and how you're kind of catering to those self-care needs too as well. And also thinking about the community. So like, how is the relationship with your friends, your family, your chosen family, all the volunteering that you do, any community involvement as well? That's all great and important to understand as well, because that feeds who we are as a person and it feeds our career and how we're doing that. So it's good to think about self-care in the whole scope of all these domains. Next up, I kind of like to do a personal SWOT. So that for those who don't know what SWOT means, it's a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats assessment as well. So it's a good to kind of think about for yourself, how do I do this for myself and where I'm kind of building on that. So the first one is strengths. So strengths are personal and unique to you and what you feel like you do and like best. So strengths are where you should be prioritizing. I'm a very strengths focused person. So what are you good at? What do you love to do? What energizes you and brings to the table? And it's good to kind of think about what you evaluate and kind of think about your strengths. So here are some different ways to do it as well. So one, just self-reflecting. Like, what do you feel like you do best in both your personal and professional life as well? How do you kind of think about that? If you want some self-reflection to help, there's some strengths assessments that you can think about too. I'm a big fan of Strengths Finder. So I was just meeting with someone this morning who just got excited they did their Strengths Finder because it gave them all words and language to how to market their strengths that they didn't know about before. And it's a great way to do that as well. And you can buy a book, it's about $20 and take an assessment with it too as well. Myers-Briggs is a good assessment, 16 personalities, DISC, lots of good assessments that you can take out as well. And sometimes they're fun to just learn about yourself too, but always good to know is like no assessment is perfect. They're great reflection tools to kind of think about what works for you, but you know yourself best. And it's good to kind of think about how you can best bring your strengths to the table, because when we're operating in our strengths, we're more likely to be engaged, focused, and motivated and passionate about our work. Next up is challenges. So I like to say change weaknesses to challenges because I like to be more positive as well. So challenges, so personal conditions that might make things harder as well. And that's the thing, they're challenge. Challenges can be overcome. Weaknesses kind of make a combination, they're always there as well. But I always think about for questions. So questions to reflect on for your challenges, like what personal things are making things harder as well. So do you need more knowledge in this area? Do you need more skills? Do you need more confidence? That's a legit thing to think about as well. A lot of us are in spaces where imposter syndrome is real, and that's a real thing to reflect on and make sure we know how to navigate and support, because many of the times if we just boost up our confidence, we're going to be excelling and building on that as well. So and it's also a good thing to ask, is this a personal challenge or an external challenge? So is this something you can control, or is this an external facing thing? And we'll talk about barriers and threats later about external stuff, but good to kind of think about, is this me or is this my environment that I'm in? Because that could kind of think about as well. What are things that are making it harder to accomplish your goals? And why do you think some of these challenges exist? Again, going back to, is it a knowledge thing? Is it a skills thing? Is it a confidence thing? Or is it an environment thing? It's always good to reflect on those questions as well. And then, am I taking care of myself to address those challenges? So some of the challenges you might have, it's because we're not taking care of ourselves. So is it a self-care issue more than it is a skills issue? So always good to kind of consider with that as well. And then what additional support you need. Again, you shouldn't be going at this at your own. You have a network, you have a supportive as well. How else can we kind of think about what additional support you need to kind of build on that? So that's challenges. So the personal side. So opportunities. So these are the chance to engage in something new or enhance what you're currently doing as well. So let's think about, these are the exciting things down the road that could be potential engagement opportunities for you. So it's good to think about, again, reflecting back on your self-care opportunities. These are the different domains that you can think about. What are opportunities to enhance my personal self-care? What are my opportunities to enhance my professional, organizationally as well, and community? And maybe you set expectations for each of those, so you feel like you're having domains. So you have some personal self-care opportunities to look at. You have some professional ones about like furthering your education or getting that credential or attending some trainings. Organizationally, so is it a promotion, or is it a new project, or joining a new interdepartment committee? What does it look like as well? And then community, like, is it getting involved in the community? Is it joining a support group? Is it thinking about what volunteer leadership positions you can think about as well? So think about those to kind of reflect on, what are the opportunities that could be granted for you in your space, and how can you maybe think about executing on those? And the last area of the SWOT is barriers. So these are external forces making things harder as well. So I want to say challenges are more internal focused, barriers are more external focused. So these are things that may not be out of our control, but we can figure out how to overcome those barriers, or at least tolerate them, kind of giving on how we're approaching things. So another kind of questions reflection as well. What is your current environment and making things harder or less enjoyable as well? So I'm an equity warrior. My forefront is thinking about social equity consideration. I think more now people are being reflective on how systemic oppression faces many of us in the workplace, but it's still a barrier for many of us. Is this barrier a challenge because of your identity? And sometimes we don't want to think that way, but sometimes it's important to acknowledge that. And maybe talking to someone who has that same identity too can help you kind of process that as well. Are there policies and procedures at your agency that makes things harder as well, that maybe should be changed as well? Do you have enough resources allocated to you? In nonprofit life, that's the main thing. That if I had way more resources and allocation, I'd be like cruising along so much, but it's a real issue kind of think about resource allocation. Benefits or lack of benefits, is that a barrier at your agency? Do you have proper leadership and supervision? What's the organizational culture like? Do you feel like you can bring your authentic self to work? Maybe that's the place, not the place for you, and kind of incorporating that as well. What about the community values? Like what do people prioritize? And right now, a lot of our communities across the country and globe are talking about intense issues like critical race theory, abortion access, healthcare, COVID protocols, and people have strong values on things. And it's not saying one value is important than the other, but do those values align with you and what you want out of a workplace? That's important to consider as well. And then what's social connections can kind of be important for that as well. And I put here too, mentors can be really helpful. So any mentors on this is kind of the way to kind of help provide insights or provide connections to kind of navigate that too. Or these are some of the things you want to chat with some of your mentors about. And I've had, again, about to be a fourth mentor now, I've chatted with all this stuff with many of my mentees and thinking about how these barriers could come and what do we kind of do to navigate those barriers. Okay, awesome. So we did your personal assessment, assessing your career. We did all that. You're going to get the slides to kind of just go through as well. But I hope that got you thinking, okay, I'm thinking where I'm at now. I'm kind of building on that too. Now I have a good understanding of where I am now, what challenges, barriers, and opportunities I have. Let's start thinking about identifying your goals. So you want to think about where you're kind of building on that. So goals. So I put in 3 different types of stages of goals as well. So we want to think some immediate and short-term goals as well, because we want to get excited. We want to change the ball. You want to change that overwhelmness to an excitement feeling as well. What do you want to change immediately? Is this a new job? Is this a new promotion? Is this a new opportunity? And kind of thinking about that. It's a new project, kind of thinking, or is it a skill development focus? What do you want to do immediately in the next few months to kind of work on that? And this is a great way to think about when you're approaching your mentor relationships, how you can think about right now, what can we change in this mentor relationship as well? Is it a new resume? Is it interview prep or more confidence? Like things that kind of focus on and prioritize with that too as well. And I put some examples to say, like, to strengthen my Excel skills, improve my efficiency in my role, think about the impact that those will have as well, or to attain a job with my that will strengthen, my writing skills, building on that too. So think about what you want to change now. Next is medium goals. So these are things that you want to accomplish in the next couple of years. I kind of think it as like the next professional step. So for the students who are not graduating this year, maybe this is a medium goal of like you're building up support to when you're graduating. So what does that look like as well? Or, for some of us who are already working, what does that next professional step look like? Again, a promotion, new job, new committee assignment, a credential, improve self-care, all things to earn as well, and kind of thinking about that too. And here's an example, like to earn a promotion at my current agency and develop my management skills. Great way to think about building that. And it's also good to kind of see future forward about how your immediate goals can then lead into your medium goals as well. And the last goal is kind of your long-term goals. So this is like either an ultimate career path and kind of what you're thinking about. I usually picture them like 5 year, 10 years out. It depends where you are as well. Where you want to see yourself kind of at the ultimate career. And it's good to not think about specifically what that job may be or what that opportunity might be, because like who knows what our world will be like or what opportunities are presented to us. But if we can just envision what that dream career path could be, it could help us think about where we kind of want to go and kind of want to build it as well. And again, don't limit yourself too. So how can your actions today lead you to our path that could build on it as well? So an example, to obtain a leadership position, utilizing my strengths and impacting my community. Kind of vague doing that. I've worked with people that had very specific ones as well. I kind of made it vague for a reason for this, but really think about how to do that. And also in all of the goals is just a reminder, goals can change or not be accomplished, and it's okay. Like, we set those goals just to kind of get us motivated or clear our path or make us feel this overwhelmness is kind of more tangible and working on that. So you can change your goals. It's okay to not accomplish them. It's always good to reflect, like, why didn't I accomplish that? You know, were other priorities coming up? Were other things in the way? Did I realize something about myself that I wanted to change? It's totally fine to kind of change those career goals and kind of building on that. So, but it's always good to set them and then, you know, every so often reflect on it to see how you can build on that as well. Awesome. Alrighty. And the last part of this is creating your professional development plan. So now we're thinking about, we've assessed ourselves, we've set our goals. Now, what are we going to do to make it happen? So this is taking the goal, the visioning part, to action and how you're actually going to execute on getting to those goals as well. And the action plan is usually something that you work on immediately that will lead to long-term goals as well. So the first one is you got to name your development area. This is a specific skill, resource, or competency that you're looking to help that will achieve your goals as well. So this could be a specific network of people. It could be a specific skill. It could be a specific knowledge area that you're growing as well. What specifically are you looking to gain as well? And you should name it. So name specifically what you're hoping to work on and what will lead to those goals as well. Next one, you want to assess a little bit. I'm always about assessing. That's how I am as well. So your current state of your development area. So where do you see yourself right now and kind of what's building on that specifically? So what's the current status for you and how does that, what does it look like? How would you describe how you're currently feeling as well? And I'll use an example if it'll make sense. I kind of wanted to walk through the different 5 steps for creating your professional development plan first. And the next one is your development goal. So this is like, what does success look like for you after this? And this is specific to this specific development goal area and specific to the development plan. So you want to, again, shoot for what success looks like for you. And you set it too as well, because it's always good for us to then set how we deem success, because sometimes we focus on what we didn't accomplish or what we haven't done. And it's always good to kind of move forward to make sure that we're focusing on how we can accomplishly look like, how does it look like successfully growing in this area as well. So that's a development goal specifically. And then next is what resources. So it's good to think about too, like, again, you're not on your own. This is a great way to kind of think about what tools, what education, what people, your school support, what work benefits can you leverage to achieve or progress to your goals as well. And it's good to name them specifically, and name specific people, you know, say my mentor can support with this, or my classmate can, or my professor, or my career coach. You know, be specific on what that's like, because you want to ensure that you have the support you have. And it could be a good reflection to them, like, oh, maybe I'm not utilizing as much people in my network as I could be. So what does that look like, and kind of building on that too, specifically for the resources as well. And then number 5 of the professional development plan is your action steps. So what specific actions will you take to leverage these resources to achieve your development goal? By when? And I want to say action steps are probably the specific thing as well. So when someone tells you like, oh, a goal or an action step needs to be measured, I'm a big proponent of making sure your action steps are measurable to know that you accomplished it, or you can check off, or you can know your progress and kind of building on that. Because again, as I mentioned, we focus on sometimes what we don't accomplish or what we still need to as well, and forget to celebrate the short-term wins. So it's good to always think about how can I celebrate those short-term wins and kind of work on that too. And you can set that and change depending on how things go and how navigate, but that's kind of where think about that. Always set action steps and kind of go from there as well. So this is an example of one of the professional development plan areas. And usually people have about 4 to 6 development areas they're working on per plan as well. And a lot of this stuff too is kind of similar to what a lot of the mentor networking program worksheets, because I've worked through those worksheets specifically with the mentor as well. So kudos to Michelle and Becky and the team for organizing that, because these are great ways. You get these as well. This is kind of just a specific way that I'm thinking about too as well. So, but for example, this person that I worked on, and this is based on a real plan, this is a networking. So this person wanted just to be a better networker, as many people do as well. So they kind of assess, they feel like they're a beginner. There's a lot of room for growth. We like to stay positive and kind of building on that as well. And then their development goal was they wanted to be specific with confidence when networking online. They were targeted in a very virtual space. So how can we ensure our focus was developing confidence networking online as well. So what resource they had? So they had a mentor specifically that they were working with as well. Their current classmates too, and LinkedIn. That's kind of where their priorities were and kind of building on that. And then based on the resources, then we created action steps and stuff like that as well. So the first one was schedule a meeting with my mentor to review my plan and ask for resources. So a great way to create a professional plan is then, if you haven't created it with your mentor, you can then share it with your mentor after and ask for advice on how they can support and what additional resources they have. So that was an action step. You can check it off, you can build on that. The next one was reach to one classmate each week and ask for 1 to 3 potential connections. So this was like thinking about, okay, I'm going to ask one person for an introduction to someone else too as well. Because like, someone, you share your goals of what you're doing on, and then you can ask for a recommendation to as well. And we limit it to 1 per week just to make it manageable, because like we can't talk to everyone. So, setting those, is it like, reaching out to people monthly or weekly as well. And then, thinking about setting goals, like to spend 30 minutes each week on LinkedIn, searching for connections, groups, schools. We could have a whole session on LinkedIn networking as well. But that's specific to think about. I'm setting a time limit of how I want to commit to that as well. And if I can't make it, what's preventing me from getting there as well? If I'm overdoing it, do I need to kind of adjust to make sure I'm taking care of some of my other areas too? But this is just an example plan to kind of think about how you can kind of build on that. And then these are then moving towards how you're accomplishing your goals as well. And then lastly, when you complete your plan, share it. Sometimes, people work on something and they don't work on completing their plan. They don't share it with anyone else. So find supportive people who are willing to listen to you, who you can trust, and build on that as well, and kind of build on that as well. Find it at an accountability buddy. So this can be a mentor, or this could be a friend or someone else that that could be supportive. For those who are married, maybe your spouse isn't the best accountability buddy. I don't know. I love my husband, but he's not the best. Oh, I wouldn't count on him for that too as well. But I might count on my best friend or someone else to kind of have accountability buddy. But think about that person that works in your life as well that can be supportive, to kind of help you be like, hey, did you do this? Do you need some help with that? And kind of that person as well. Work with your mentor. So even if you're not in the formal mentor program, I definitely recommend you kind of thinking about multiple mentors to just think about how they can be best supportive for you and how to build on it. So if you're comfortable, discuss with your boss in your current organization. So if you really want to grow in your organization, I would share it with them. It's a great way for them to see what's going on. I know here at Villa, we all create professional development plans specific to the job as well. I mean, if your goal is to leave your job and your boss isn't comfortable with that, maybe not share that as well. But depending on your situation, it could be a good way to share with your boss, or for your current students, share with your professors, your advisors, go to the career center and meet with an advisor and share with them as well. They would love it, and kind of build on that too as well. And then also ensure you have self-care support. So again, going back to those self-care domains, making sure that each one of the domains, you have something that's supporting yourself. So how are you taking care of your physical health? How are you growing your education? How are you growing support at your organization? How are you engaging your community? You want to build on that and make sure of that as well. But that's when you complete your plan and build on that too. So awesome. Alrighty. So that's all I have for the presentation, and going that too as well. I know it's about time that I'm going to connect with Michelle to see if there's any questions or specifics, but yeah.
Thanks, Jonathan. We will be starting to do the Q&A now. So if you have a question for Jonathan, a couple came in ahead of time, so we can start there.
Sure.
But if anybody else has questions, they can send it to me directly in the chat. If you'd like to ask your question, just tell me you have a question and then I'll ask you to unmute your microphone and you can ask your question directly to Jonathan. That's why we do the Zoom meetings, so that it's more interactive. So please feel free to put your camera on and join the conversation. So why don't we just start with the question I have, which is, have you noticed the impact the last 2 years has had on people's ability to create short-term and long-term goals? Like, have you seen any trends towards, like, you know, what people are saying, overwhelmed? You know, is there anything about the last couple of years being in this pandemic?
Of course, I definitely think so. I mean, as I think it's definitely shifted a lot of priorities and mindsets. And I think what's important to acknowledge is, you know, we're still in a pandemic. This is not over. And not only we're in this, you know, COVID-19 pandemic, but we're in a racial reckoning pandemic. Or in an economic crisis pandemic. We're dealing with a lot of stuff. So like, for those of you who are overwhelmed, I feel you. Sometimes I'm overwhelmed in doing that as well. And that's why I bring up self-care to navigate. But I think a lot of this has been sparked to thinking about, what do I really want in a career? And am I getting the support with that as well? And also, your career is not your life, you know, like you want to focus on spending time with your family and kind of building on that. Michelle mentioned, like, I moved to Rochester during the pandemic. Like, I moved to be closer to family. Like, I was tired of being away from them, and now I'm like nearby and building on that, and I don't regret it whatsoever. So, you know, I think it's shifting the mindset to prioritize that as well. And then also for anyone who's here heard the great resignation term thrown out because of the staffing crisis and stuff like that too. I like to shift the mindset to be like a workers' revolution, because like, we're getting paid more now, we're getting benefits, we're getting education. You know, this is a good thing and a well-needed thing for workers as well, to kind of shift that to, well, like, people aren't taking crap anymore. Like, I know people are being much bolder in interviews and more confident in that, and you should be too as well. Like, don't take something that doesn't work for you. You should kind of focus on your needs and what you're prioritizing. And if the organization doesn't suit that, some other organization will as well. So that's a good question, and kind of thinking about that.
Building on that, can you, the question just came in, can you have your salary as a short-term, long-term goal, sort of like what you're hoping to make, and how does that work? You know, how would you go about doing that?
So yes, that's a great, I mean, it is a short-term, like that could be a promotion or kind of building on that too as well. Salary is always interesting. So, you know, it's always good to do some research on, you know, if your organization has pay scales, like understanding that too as well. Sometimes you might not be able to navigate that, but like if your human resources or whoever manages the salary can kind of share that too as well, because that could be helpful. Or comparing other local organizations and what they're doing to think about what's that. Like, I know Glassdoor sometimes has that, LinkedIn sometimes has that. A lot more jobs are being transparent about their salaries, which I think should be as well. Like New York City, there's a new law coming into effect where people have to post the job salaries on their job postings. Like, there's no more kind of hiding that. So that it's good to kind of acknowledge that and kind of build on what that's like, but it's good to always think about, okay, here's my current job, here's what the market would kind of think about, and here's ideally I would like to get paid. How can I match that with my responsibilities? Can I advocate for new projects? Can I think about some new things? Do I need to just self-advocate in general? And mentors are really great support to kind of navigate this too as well. But a salary can definitely be a short-term goal of thinking about, you know what, in the next few months, I'm going to advocate for more financial support too as well. And then you know how invested your organization is in you, because if that goes well and way, that's great. If it doesn't, maybe it's a good consideration of like, should I find something else, or should I find something aligned in my way as well?
Thanks. How do you explore what other jobs exist out? Sorry, let me start that again. How do you explore what other jobs exist, or, you know, the jobs that are out there? Are there ways to experience another field or a job if you were already working full-time? That's a great
Yes.
question.
That is a great question, and it's a great experience as well. The best way to kind of get a new job is networking. So I would definitely think about how can you connect to that as well. So like maybe that's, looking on LinkedIn and seeing like, oh, this person has a job that looks interesting to me and in a different field, and sending a message and saying, hey, can you spend 30 minutes just sharing a little bit about your job? So I'd love to know what it entails to do that as well. You should also do this on the Melior Collective, because this is a great tool to do that as well. I know. Because I've done it too. Like you can look up people's jobs, their experiences, and we're all U of R alums. And if you're on the collective, then you're interested in supporting each other. But I've had people reach out to me in the collective say, I want to just learn about your job and build on that. So you can have a chance to kind of just have, a conversation as well. And then looking up job postings is helpful too as well. If you have a specific industry in mind, I'd look at the professional association too. So like I'm part of the Association of Fundraising Professionals. So we're dedicated to fundraisers and philanthropy experts, but there's a professional association for everything. So maybe you should check out whatever that industry is to see if they have intro trainings or kind of building on that as well. You could think about like what other groups in your community. So I know, the Chamber of Commerce could be a great resource to kind of connect with people, networking groups, kind of other ways to kind of think about what opportunities could be connecting as well. So there's probably also a Facebook group and a LinkedIn group and a social media group for everything too. There's probably Clubhouse, if that's still a thing, there's groups on there, so you can check out a bunch of ways to do that. But, I be honest and say, I'm interested in this. I don't know much about it. Can you just share? And also ask them like, what's the good part about that job and what's the not so good part about that job too, and kind of build up that connection too as well.
Okay, we have about like 12 minutes left or so. A couple of questions have come in about mid-career transitions. So this is a big one, and this is one we get a lot, and a lot of people that come to career conversations are either mid-level or mid-career or just transitioning, just deciding to transition industry. So it's a little bit of, about the last question, but I'm wondering for them, because sort of a couple of different questions going to kind of put them all together. When you're, and also re-entering the workforce. So that's another one, that would be helpful to know, like how can you just, as a mid-level person or mid-career or just transitioning, coming back to work, what is the best way to start? I mean, I know you gave a lot of advice, but just for that particular group, kind of all grouped in together, I know it's a little bit different, but you can speak to it however you want.
Oh yeah, for sure. So, I think for assessing yourself is probably the first step, and that first step at any career too as well, because when you're at mid-career, you're not assessing what you want to do, you're assessing what you've already done and what you like doing specifically. So you might maybe have a better understanding of where your strengths are and kind of what to build on than you would kind of entering. So, think about mid-career, like where you are right now and you want to transfer to something else. Do a pros and cons list. What do you like about your current job? What you don't like about what sounds interesting, and building on that too. And then, so definitely some assessment, talking to people. I think that's the most helpful as well, because you just get a better understanding of things. And again, the majority of jobs people get are through networking. They're not through online postings and kind of building on that. So make sure you're trying to talk to people specifically. I'm working with someone who is in their 50s. They've had the same job for 30 years and they're like, I want something new before I transition. And that person is exposed. I'm pushing them outside of their comfort zone to talk to new people. And they have identified 3 new career opportunities that they didn't even think about before, because they're like, oh, I'm really good at engaging people. I love networking. I love, building relationships for the agency, and now they're looking at fundraising. They're looking at HR recruiting as well. There's some business support type of thing. So it's always good to think about what's that. And then, if you're transitioning, think about why that transition is happening. So, and this is good to kind of just prep when you're having these conversations, but it will be good to prep when you're having an interview and what's that like. So like, why do you want to change? As some of us change for a lot of negative reasons, and that's okay. It's always good to reflect on like what to kind of focus positively on as well. Like some of us are burned out and we're done with this field. And it could be a way to like, step back and then say, hey, I'm tired of this field. I want to do something new. I want to be re-engaged, or I want something that fits better in my personal life as well. So it's always good to kind of think that and then write that stuff down, practice with other people so that you feel more comfortable in talking about that as well. And, if you're really stumped too, that's where really a coach can come in and help you just navigate that conversation as well. As I mentioned, I help people do the assessment, and then I pick apart stuff too to kind of think, oh, did you consider this? Or you mentioned you really like this, but you didn't talk about this in your goals. Like, do you want to consider that as well? And having a different fresh perspective could help. So a coach could do that. A mentor could as well, like definitely think about leveraging the people in building on that too as well. So I hope that kind of answers it. But yeah, it's a similar process to mid-career. You just kind of want to, again, really reflect on what you want, because by the time, mid-career, you're probably more like, you might have a better understanding of things too as well, but you also might have to prepare, like, I'm working with, the person I just mentioned, they haven't interviewed in 30 years. So like, we're doing interviews that too as well. And that could be somewhere like kind of building on that too as well. And, working with someone who could be a potential recruiter is really great. Like there's a lot of recruiting firms out there that will help prep for you too as well. So that could be a great option too as well. If you see a recruiting agency that is working on stuff, you just reach out and be like, hey, do you have jobs for me? Can you support me as well? Because they could see the potential in you and then just connect you to some of those resources.
Yeah. And just, I come across a lot of people who haven't looked for a job in 25, 30 years, and their resume is still back, it's still reading like the job they had instead of the job that they're looking for. So a lot of the time we're recommending, a complete review of that resume to make sure that it makes sense for the job that they're applying for, the position that they're wanting. I'm going to switch gears really quickly because I know this always goes so fast. A couple of questions have come in about supporting mentees. So I have two questions. I'm going to kind of tell you both of them, and then you can speak to to them. One is, as a mentor, how do you talk about what seems like they may be unrealistic goals with a mentee? So that was one. And then the other one is, can you recommend resources for first-time mentors on the best practices and approach and resources for goal setting?
Yeah, that's great. So I'll probably think the resources question is, the collective has a lot. Like Becky and Michelle do a great job posting stuff, sharing ideas, and go back and watch some of the past ones too. I think we've recorded some past ones as well, because I think I did a panel last year too.
That's right.
Two awesome career coaches too about just how mentors can better support. So, check those out. They could be fun, like hang out and watch them and just get some takeaways on that as well. For the unrealistic goals part, we've been there, kind of think about that too as well. I think this is where the action plans come in to help to kind of better gear on that. So if they have this goal and you're like, they're not going to meet this too, but like you can also have them vision to that too as well. Like, who says they can't have a vision goal? Maybe it's not saying they can't realize that, but saying like, oh, well, let's work on something that you can do right now that could work towards that as well. So it could be, they want this dream job at this dream company. Well, it's going to be hard to do that. Like, I'm just thinking of a scenario as well, but maybe in the next few months, they can try to do some networking at people who work at similar agencies to get a better understanding of what they work on as well. They can, if they want to, be a leadership position somewhere, but they have to develop some of their skills, do that assessment to be like, okay, you mentioned you want this role and you want to strengthen these skills. Like maybe we should spend some time going over some skill development or watching YouTube. There's so much stuff on YouTube. I mean, and good stuff, you know, like maybe we both share a YouTube video too. I once had a mentor in a different program I had. Every time they met with their mentee, they invited someone new in the community that had a different skill set, and they learned together as a great as well, because the mentor had the network too. So like this was for a nonprofit, so they invited a grant writer in, they invited a communications person in, like all these different people that they connect as well. And maybe that's the way to do that too. So maybe they're not reaching out, but you're helping facilitate that as well. It's really, I think, channel the energy and excitement and motivation that they have and put it into something that they can accomplish right now.
That's great. I also wanted to mention that, you know, for the mentors that are on here, whether they're part of the program or on the Meliora Collective or just, you know, serving as a mentor in their own organization, I think we also forget that we don't have to have all the answers, you know, that we don't have to be that mentor that is, you know, every single thing, can wear every single hat for that mentee, that we have networks, that we have our colleagues, we have people that we know that can, like what you're saying, really use those people as a resource. So another plug for the Meliora Collective. I mean, you have a lot of people in there that have, you know, potential answers to your questions. So use them. So we have about 4 more minutes. This always happens that people start asking a lot of questions at the end. So I want to give people a chance. They keep coming in, but if somebody is reluctant, please don't be, because Jonathan's here to, you know, ask any question, answer any question that you may have. I'll, you know, as long as we'll wait, but, you know, how would you suggest perhaps providing for, you know, a mentee or a person that you're working with that you may not have similar backgrounds? Like, where would you find resources to be able to be an effective mentor or just a colleague if you don't have a similar background or you're looking to have more sensitivity towards someone?
That's a great question. And I'm going to think about that. I totally forgot. I have one more poll left before I know it's
okay. Well, great.
But like, we'll answer the question while people answer as well.
Okay.
So, like,
okay.
I'll launch the poll. It's just like a reflecting poll to kind of just think about with that too as well. I'm like, oh yeah, I mentioned that. So,
Okay.
so I mean, I think that's a great question, and it's really important to think about too as well, because it can be really transformational to be a mentee mentor pairing with people who have different backgrounds from you. Like, it's a great way to learn and grow and kind of build on that as well. So make sure, you know, in kind of thinking about that too, like, one, have honest conversations about messing up. Like, I think that's the important thing. Like, we're all not perfect. I'm not an expert. No one else is an expert. I just had a meeting with a DEI director of a large, varied organization, and she's like, I'm not an expert as well. So it's important to kind of acknowledge that you're not doing that. So set some safe spaces and build some trust so that you can have honest conversations about issues that might come up as well. So, you know, I'm a big fan of calling in instead of calling out. So like, this is like, you know, if you're talking about something too as well, have an avenue for the mentee to call you in and say, hey, that I don't really connect with that, or that doesn't work with me. So you can just do that too, because each situation is different. So it's good to kind of just acknowledge that as well. And then have the honest conversations about identity. And then one, do your own research. Like, there's tons of stuff out there, and kind of building on that to you, and maybe leverage the Meliora Collective of finding stuff. So like, if you're working with a mentee with a different racial background or different sexual identity, or they have a disability, it's good to just say, hey, I'm going to try to reach out and kind of research as well. You can ask the mentee if they have any resources in mind that they think about, but the pressure should not just be on them, because it can be a lot as well. So, you know, thinking about what resources U of R has, or thinking about like what national or what local places are doing some great stuff too, that could just have, you know, how to be a better ally, how to be a better supportive person as well. Or just, it's better understanding of where they are too. So that's important to kind of knowledge of like, okay, what resource they have to, and kind of build in that. And then also accept that, again, you don't have to wear every hat. Maybe it's an issue that you need to connect them with someone else. So if you have someone similar
Right.
and reaching out and say, hey, build on that too as well. You know, just because people have a shared identity doesn't mean they know very similar things too as well. And there's lots of nuances and backgrounds to kind of navigate. So it's
Right.
always, it's okay to say, I don't know, you know, like personally, for example, you know, I, as proud Latinx professional, was connected with a Latinx student, you know, but my family's Puerto Rican. We don't deal with a lot of immigration issues that other Latino families face. And she was dealing with an immigration issue specifically. And I couldn't relate to that, even though we were both that shared identity. So, I talked with her about it, but then I had found a best friend that knew exactly what she was going to and connected to her. And she was so grateful. So that was a great supportive person, because I acknowledged my limitations and where I could do as well, and then connected them to that person too. So it's okay,
Yeah.
to build on that. And it was a learning experience for both of us to kind of explore too as well.
Well, thank you so much, Jonathan. We are out of time. I know your poll is, I think, complete. If you want to just mention
Yeah.
it very briefly. And we have also put in the chat a survey for this program that people can copy, but we'll also send it out in our thank you. But did you want to say just one more word before we close out this session?
Yeah, I just put thank you so much. It looks like overwhelmingly everyone agreed this was helpful. I'm glad. I just want to make sure that as well. I mean, I'm always open to feedback and ideas. So if you have any ideas or contact information, please feel free to reach out. Here's all my contact information. You know, find me on the Melior Collective. Go on, like posts, make new posts too. That's always helpful. I know the feeling of trying to create engagement. So, but thank you again to Michelle, to Becky, to our interpreter and captioner. Thank you again both so much for joining us today. And again, reach out if you have any other questions. So
Thank
I'm
you
always
so
open
much.
to have it.
We know we'll see you soon, Jonathan. So thank you
Yes,
so
of
much for your
course.
time and the presentation. And thanks for everybody for coming. We see you next time. Take
Thanks,
care.
Michelle.
Bye-bye.